Harry and Meghan signed a multi-year deal with Netflix, honor Princess Diana, and Harry talks about how Archie is his #1 priority.
Our little man is our #1 priority, but then our work after that is the second priority, and we're just doing everything we can to try and play our part in trying to make the world a better place.
Harry and William come together to announce a statue for their late mother, Princess Diana. So what could it look like?
Go horribly wrong, statues.
Yeah.
There are some real corkers out there. And, if you're producing a statue that's going to have huge world coverage, which this one surely is, you need to get it right.
Plus, CNN royal correspondent Victoria Arbiter breaks down Diana and Charles's marriage in the series The Windsors Inside the Royal Dynasty.
I think they had moved beyond the really ugly stage of their relationship, and they were embracing what the future had in store for both of them.
We've got that plus so much more in today's Royally Us. Hello to our fellow royal lovers and welcome to Royally Us. I'm Christina, that's Molly Mulshine, the host of the Diva Behavior Podcast. Hi, Molly.
Hi, Christina. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited this week. There's some really fun, interesting news.
Yeah, there really is. There's some fun, interesting news. We have some fun interviews as well. So we have a lot to get to. But before we do that, we, of course, have to check in with our royal viewers, our royal watchers who, like always, have a lot to say.
Yeah, we really got a roasting this week.
We did. We did get a bit of a roast this week. So I tried to pick out some nice ones, but here we go. So let's kick it off with MDMR 2005 says, I love the work Meghan and Harry are doing with the Commonwealth. They're genuinely interested in the work they're doing. That was nice.
Yeah, that was really nice. And it is really important, the Commonwealth work. And I think something that we also should take away from it is the Commonwealth is so important to the Queen. So it just makes it so clear that they are still doing their job of supporting the Queen whenever they're getting involved with the Commonwealth issues and everything.
Totally. All right, next one. Colleen Kerr says, I agree Harry should have listened to William. She knew what she was getting into when she married him, and to get him to turn his back on his duties, his life, his family, was just wrong. So this was when William said that he should take his time getting to know that girl.
Yeah, I mean, if Harry turned his back on his duties, that's news to me, because all we've been talking about is all of the great work that Harry's been doing on behalf of the royal family.
I feel like they're busier now than they were before.
Yeah, I don't think he's turned his back on anything. And I think also, we're going to get to this later in the podcast, but the fact that he released a statement with William about the Princess Diana statue, I think things are going really well for them, for the brothers, and for everybody. It seems like I think he is still such a huge part of the family. Just because he lives in LA doesn't mean he's out of it.
No, totally. And I mean, it was he and Meghan's decision both for them to leave the royal family. I feel like a lot of the blame is always put on her, but it takes two to make a decision like this, and they both wanted to take a step back, and he has said that several times before.
Yeah, he's a big boy, and like you said, he's been saying it for years that he's sort of ambivalent about the whole royalty thing. So
yeah. All right, next one from Sharon Gimble says, you lovely ladies are truly American, and that's fine. However, you always side with Harry and Meghan against the rest of the royal family, especially William and Catherine and their kiddos. Please give William and Catherine all the credits they deserve, because they will never put themselves forward, as do Meghan and Harry. Please, a better balance. Thank you. Now, what I have to say is sometimes the news, Harry and Meghan sometimes do more in the news one week than William and Catherine. So it's like we're just reporting the news to you guys. And sometimes, William and Kate will do more one week and Harry and Meghan will do more another week.
Right. And I really like how Sharon felt the need to specify that we are American, but it's fine.
Right.
She's not holding it against us or anything. So,
we get a pass this time.
Thank you, Sharon.
But you know what? No matter good, bad, indifferent, we love hearing what you guys have to say. Please comment. Every opinion. We love to hear all of your opinions and love to hear what you guys have to say. So keep them coming. As much as we joke, keep them coming.
Yes, definitely.
All right, let's get to our royal roundup, our royal news of the week. And we have to kick it off with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's big announcement that they have signed a multi-year deal with Netflix. Now, they have founded a yet-to-be-named production company, and they will be making documentaries, docuseries, feature films, scripted shows, and children's programming. They said in a statement that their focus will be creating content that informs but also gives people hope. As new parents, making inspirational family programming is also important to us. They added that Netflix's unprecedented reach will help them share impactful content that unlocks action. Of course, Netflix has 193 million subscribers worldwide. We don't know how much they are getting paid for this, but given their huge production and what they're expected to do, we imagine that it was a pretty hefty payday. And of course, on August 30th, it marked the 23rd anniversary of Princess Diana's death. And to mark this occasion, Prince Harry and Prince William came together and issued a rare statement, and they plan to honor their late mother with a statue, which we are so excited about. I think this is such a great thing. It will be built in Kensington Palace in honor of their mother. So what did they have to say? They very rarely issue a statement together, so this was definitely big news.
Right. It was really nice to see them come together for this. And they said that they want to recognize her positive impact in the UK and around the world. And they're hoping that the statue, which is going to be at Kensington Palace, will help people to reflect on their mother's life and her legacy.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. And like you said, it's going to be located in Kensington Palace, which is, of course, where she lived and where she spent a lot of her time.
Right. And it's going to be in the sunken garden, which is where Harry and Meghan had their engagement photos taken. So everything's coming together.
It really is. And so do we know when this will be done?
July 1st, 2021 is when they're hoping for it. I wouldn't be surprised with COVID ruining everything if that gets pushed back even a little further, but hopefully we'll be able to see the design by then.
And to help us break down what that may look like is Associate Professor from Northumbria English and public sculpture expert Claudine van Hensbergen. I mean, have you heard anything about maybe who they're working with and, any kind of rumblings about any of the development and the design?
Yeah, well, in the British press are reporting that the sculptor who has got the commission, who they're working with, is Ian Rank Broadley, who is a very well-established sculptor here. And he actually designed the image of the Queen that is used. He sculpted the relief of the Queen's profile that is used on the British coinage. So there is a history there to him depicting royals and members of the royal family. So I think they're in quite a sort of safe pair of hands with this. I don't think it's going to be, a crazily abstract piece. He tends to work in bronze. And if you sort of look his work up on the internet, you'll get a clear sense of the type of work he produces. But, it's quite unusual for sculptors to produce full figure-length statues. Normally statues are quite often, what we call a portrait bust, where it's the sort of the shoulders up.
Right.
It's quite difficult to actually produce a really great full-length figure statue, and because it's for an outdoor site, I would imagine that this is going to be a full-length figure statue. That's the type of statue you would stand in this type of site in an outdoor space. I think the interesting thing about the statue of Diana for me is going to be actually in the design, because William and Kate have, in the portraits of their children that they've released, the photographic ones, then the Duchess of Cambridge has taken those herself. They seem to have a very sort of personal sense of art, and they seem to really want to convey a sense of themselves as not a normal family, but as a very real family and as real people, rather than the sort of stuffy, royals who are always in their formal dress. Mm-hmm. And I think, that's very much how the British public saw Diana, as well as the royal, even when she was a royal who was trying to break out of the sort of stuffy, more conventional mold. And I would have thought that is something they'll want to convey in the statue. I can't see them wanting to depict her in, very traditional state robes or anything like that. And especially because of her relationship with that HRH title. So I think what will be interesting is how they give a sense of liveliness to the figure, and how they represent her in a sort of traditional way, but yet a way which sort of shows her, individuality and her sort of unique position really within the royal family, and that very complex relationship that she had with the sort of official side of royal duty. So I think it's going to be a very interesting design.
Can't wait.
I would have loved to see her in some Versace because that's what she loved to wear after she became a royal. But now I think you're right. It's probably going to be a more approachable look that they go for. That sounds totally accurate.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so much with Diana that you could do if you think about the design. And for different people, I think that's going to be interesting in terms of the response. I don't think it's going to be provocative in a way that people think, oh, you shouldn't raise a statue to her, or it's problematic. I think the reaction will be more mixed in terms of people will say, oh, that's not how I saw her, or, you know, that's not how I thought of her character. And a lot of that will hinge on, you know, do you present her in that more formal way, or do you present her in, like, you know, jeans? You know, famously here, she was always on the cover of Hello in like jeans and a check shirt and that or denim shirt, I think it was. And, you know, it was seen as very laid back and almost too laid back for a royal. And that's the side of her in many ways that, you know, that William and Harry quite often project when they share sort of glimpses of, you know, pictures of her in the background in their homes and things like that. So I do wonder, since they are in charge of the commission and she's their mother after all, you know, is there going to be a big maternal element to this work? Quite often depictions of women in statuary are very much focused on the maternal side. And the sculptor himself is very interested in classical traditional poses. So it will be really interesting, I think there will be controversy just because people will say that's not how I saw her, or, you know, she didn't look like that, you know.
Yeah.
But you can't please everyone with these things.
That is very true. Such amazing insight. She is so fantastic, and I'm so excited to see what this is going to turn out.
Yeah, it's going to be so great to see the statue and everything. I can't believe we have to wait a whole year.
I know, but I'm sure it'll go by in a blink of an eye. All right, moving on. So like we said, August 31st was marking the 23rd anniversary of Princess Diana's death. And now we know how Harry spent the day. He volunteered with Meghan at Preschool Learning Center in Los Angeles. And they actually gave a nice little nod to his late mother, right?
Yes, they planted forget-me-nots, which were Diana's favorite flower. And it's also the name of the foundation that Harry started in Lesotho. It's Sentabale, that means forget-me-not in the language of Lesotho. And I just think that was really nice that he keeps bringing this motif in with the flowers to sort of always remember her and everything.
Yeah, I think that's really sweet. Yeah, he basically, I think he brought his own seeds with him to the event. So he definitely wanted to make sure that his mother was remembered on her anniversary. And, you know, they were getting their hands dirty.
Yeah, I love to see them doing that. It's great.
It is.
Down to earth, literally.
literally down to earth. Well, Harry was also busy this week doing a lot of Zoom calls, which he has been doing from their new home in Montecito. And this one, he actually revealed some plans of returning to the UK. So take a look.
We got a whole Rugby World Cup coming, Rugby League World Cup in next year. So, you know, I definitely plan on coming back. I would have been back already had it not been for COVID. So don't worry, you guys in the rugby league community will have my commitment for as long as I can give it to you. Put it that way.
This was we actually got some news that he was planning on returning, but obviously he couldn't because, like you said before, COVID ruins everything.
Right, exactly. And I think this is just more proof that things are going really well within the family and people are sort of communicating and everything, because if things were as awkward as some of the British tabloids have been making them out to be, I don't think you would have been rushing back anytime soon. So it's good to know, I guess.
When do we think Harry will be back? When's the earliest that we think he'll be back?
So he said that he wants to come back for the Rugby World Cup next year. And he also will most likely be back in June for Trooping the Color if that goes ahead. And the Invictus Games are in May in The Hague, which means I guess he would probably have a stopover in London. So what we're looking at is probably early 2021, I would say.
Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen for Christmas, because, you know, he did spend Christmas not with the royal family last year. So I wonder if he'll, if all clear to fly over there, if maybe they'll be going back for Christmas with the royal family this year.
I know. And it's going to be weird for him probably having his first Christmas in LA. Well, were they in LA last year or were they in Canada?
I feel like they were in Canada last year.
Okay. So they had like Christmas weather. I just associate Christmas with cold weather. And I feel like it's going to be so weird for him if he has Christmas in Santa Barbara. It's just wrong if that's not what you're used to.
He's got to put those Christmas lights on the palm trees.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they'll make a return soon, because, you know, I'm sure he wants to see his family, who's been missing for a long time.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Well, back in March, Duchess Kate teamed up with the National Portrait Gallery to launch the Hold Still campaign, and she encouraged a lot of people to submit their photos of their time during quarantine. And get this, she received over 31,000 pictures, and, you know, now she has to narrow it down to just a couple. So take a look.
It's been great. I can't wait. It's going to be so difficult to go to edit this down.
Look, 31,598 submissions.
It was absolutely beautiful as well to see so many different volunteers just come together.
It's great to have seen how other people are experiencing lockdown.
Amusing, actually, as well as hysterically funny in times as well. When I was going through this, I had a good old giggle as well.
What's going to happen next?
I think that this was such a cool campaign and such a great idea, because obviously she has a love for photography. We've seen a bunch of her pictures, and now she is sharing that love with everybody.
Yeah, she's such a great photographer, and she has a degree in art history, so she is really the perfect royal to be taking this cause on.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't wait to see what the photos look like, because I'm just thinking, if I took a photo of my quarantine, it wouldn't be anything that deserves to hang in a gallery.
No, it would just be me looking nice from here up and then in sweatpants.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so she's got, like I said, over 31,000 submissions. She has to narrow it down to 100, and a lot of people are helping her select them, which is pretty cool.
Yes, they've got Lem Sisse, who's a writer and poet, Ruth May, who's England's chief nursing officer, so there's a little shout out to the NHS there, and Mariam Wahid, who is a Portrait of Britain winner from 2018, so she's really got a lot of help narrowing these photos down.
Definitely. So cool. So cool. Well, in other and Harry Meghan news, they officially changed the name of their foundation. We've been waiting for this for quite a while, so they are no more Sussex Royal, right?
Right. They are now the MWX Foundation, which is a really interesting choice. It kind of sounds like an energy drink brand, or I don't know. What do you think it stands for?
Well, there's some rumors that it could be the Markle Windsor Foundation, which, that makes sense. But definitely an interesting choice.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just hoping this means their Instagram is coming back, because they had to get rid of Sussex Royal because of the word royal. So now if they come back with MWX, imagine the possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It sounds like an energy drink, like a hip hop group or something like that.
Yeah, I like it. I think it definitely suits them.
It could be the name of their next album. I can't wait.
Yeah.
All right, now let's move on. It is time to spill the royal tea. And we are hearing that the Queen may have had a reunion with William and Kate, right?
Right, and with the little kids, which is really nice. Apparently, William and Kate and the 3 babies went up to Balmoral, which is the Queen's castle in Scotland. And apparently it's the first time she's seen them all together since the beginning of lockdown in March.
That's crazy. Hopefully they had a nice little reunion, because March is a really long time. We don't know if Prince Charles and Camilla were there, but it seems like she reunited with the kids, got some quality time with her great-grandchildren, which I'm sure was a lot of fun.
Apparently they just hung out outside the whole time too, according to one source. So they're really still keeping to the rules pretty seriously, which is a good example to set, I think.
Totally. Well, they got a lot of room to run, I'm sure. So.
Oh yeah.
Sure. They're not lacking for space. Okay. Now moving on to Meghan Markle's best friend, maybe former best friend, Jessica Mulroney. So she posted and then deleted a photo of Meghan at her wedding, featuring her son in the background. So a lot of people were like, oh, she posted it, maybe they're back on better terms, but then she deleted it, and then it got really awkward.
It was really awkward. I think awkward is the best way to describe this, because she changed the caption too.
Yeah.
The first caption was, "When I feel dark and gray, I see this and it all goes away." Then she changed the caption to, "I see this and pure joy." And then she just deleted it. So it's anyone's guess why this happened. I mean, Jessica, if you've read Finding Freedom, you really know the depth of their relationship. We all knew they were best friends, but Jessica was there for every step of their courtship and everything. So And of course, there was that big scandal at the beginning of the Black Lives Matter protests when Jessica, I don't know how to really explain what she did. She sort of got
layers.
Yeah, she sort of, I guess the big thing is she threatened the livelihood of a influencer named Sasha Exeter. And she sort of called out, she sort of used her friendship with Meghan as kind of a way to get out of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In the DMs.
Yeah. Totally.
It was very dramatic.
It was very dramatic. And sources told us weekly that Meghan kind of took a step back from the friendship after this whole thing happened. And, they weren't really speaking as much anymore. Who knows if they're really on speaking terms at all anymore. But, her kids were in the wedding. Like you said, they go really way back. They've been friends for a really, really long time. They were best friends when she lived in Canada, when she was filming Suits. So I don't know. It was a strange picture to post. But maybe Meghan was like, you need to delete that. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
The drama.
It's anyone's guess whether they are still friendly, because also something else that you pick up on in Finding Freedom is the way that Meghan sort of teased the media with her Instagram posts at the beginning of her relationship with Harry. So this is not something that Meghan has never done before, but definitely not something she's done as a member of the royal family. So it definitely goes against the protocol of friends of royals. They're not really supposed to do stuff like this.
Yeah,
so
definitely not. I'm sure she got a nice phone call after that one. All right, moving on to our royal history moment of the week, and we're going to continue talking about Princess Diana because CNN is taking an inside look at her life in their series The Windsors Inside the Royal Dynasty. Take a look.
Prince William of Britain received a fracture when a schoolmate hit him in the forehead with a golf club.
Diana and Charles were inevitably apart when news came through from William's boarding school that the prince had been rushed to hospital.
Diana spends the evening with her son, nursing him as he recovers from this injury. Whereas Charles, on discovering he wasn't seriously injured, then goes off to the opera.
Charles felt it was his duty to carry on with his royal programme for that day.
But Diana is very agitated, she's very upset, and she's sitting in the waiting room in the hospital on her own.
Now to help us break down the royal rules and the series is CNN royal correspondent Victoria Arbiter.
I have to say, Christina, of course, you wonder what else is there to say about Diana. There's been so many royal documentaries. But what I love about this series is, in particular, is it cuts through all the drama, the soap opera nature of things, the salacious news headlines. It addresses them, but it does so in a really smart, articulate fashion. And so they're talking to historians, they're talking to journalists that were covering it at the time. And with the beauty of hindsight, they're able to offer some insight that I think really hasn't been touched on before. So even for the most ardent of royal fans who think they know everything, I really recommend this.
Definitely. What are some of those new things that we're going to learn about Diana? Because like you said, there are so many documentaries, there's so many series, but this one really brings new light and new information.
It really does, and I think that's because it touches on things from a very human point of view as well. So historians are able to go back into the vaults of the monarchy over 1,000 years and relate to how things were done before, which really illustrates quite how dramatic Diana's influence was in terms of helping the monarchy leap into the 20th century and of course now the 21st century. She didn't set out to be revolutionary. She didn't want to be a trailblazer. Her family had a really long history with the monarchy. She'd grown up with the Windsor children. So it's not that she sort of set out thinking I'm going to change 1,000 years of history, but just the very nature of who she was and her tactile, very sensitive approach to her work meant that suddenly the royal family, who had been doing things a certain way for so many years, appeared to be quite cold and quite dysfunctional. I don't think they are. It was just that they always adhered to tradition, whereas Diana sort of brought this very human touch. And I think they've been able to adapt and evolve with a lot of what Diana's legacy represents, and that's to their benefit.
And I know in this in the series as well, we also get another look into Charles and Diana's marriage, which I feel like people are always looking for new information. I know in the clip that we just showed, that, Charles went back to work after William, got hurt. He was in the ambulance. Diana's at the hospital, and Charles is like, all right, he's okay. I'm going back to my royal duties. I mean, is that surprising to you, or is that just kind of like the royal way?
It's just the royal way, but I'm so glad you raised this one in particular, because this is where I think royal life is so terribly misunderstood. Prince Charles has, from the moment he was old enough to appreciate his position in this world, he has been duty, duty, duty all the way. It doesn't matter what it is. Duty always comes first. It was drummed into him. Even now, William and Harry have spoken in documentaries about the fact they wish their dad would slow down. Camilla talks about what a workaholic he is. She wishes he would slow down, but he doesn't. He feels like there's so much he needs to do. Now, of course, at the time it was pitched, well, off Charles goes for a jolly at the opera. Yes, he loves opera. Did he enjoy that evening? He probably did. But he was there in a charitable capacity. He was there because he didn't want to let the organisers down. He was aware that his presence would bring eyeballs, which would bring funding. He was really wrestling with the fact that his son has been injured and is in hospital, but he's also got all these other people that he is potentially going to let down. So yes, to other parents, does it look a little cold? I guess it does. But I think as well, sorry, the cat's come to add her 2 cents.
I love it.
I think for Charles, it was also, he knew William was fine. Diana was there, William was out of danger, he wasn't going to be in any trouble, so he felt that he was safe to go ahead and do the evening as planned. Perhaps looking back, he regrets that decision as well, but it's difficult for us to judge because none of us have ever been in that position.
Sure, definitely. What was the status of their relationship at the time that she passed? Were they happily co-parenting together? Were they, on, because I feel like we don't really hear too much about what their relationship was like, post-marriage.
I think they were finally coming to find a common ground. It had been very difficult, very acrimonious. There had been so many bitter recriminations, a battle of wills over who was going to have the last word. Prince Charles did his interview, then Diana did her interview. But I think just before she died, she had really found her calling. She was excited for the future. She'd let go of the past. Of course, there still wobbles because it's very difficult to co-parent when you're divorced, and even more so on a public platform. Sure. But I think they had moved beyond the really ugly stage of their relationship, and they were embracing what the future had in store for both of them. And I think there's a really nice moment in this documentary where it talks about when Prince Charles went to Paris to bring Diana home following her death. He was beyond devastated. People, I think, really underestimate his reaction to her loss. And yes, they were separated, they were officially divorced, but he did still love her. She was the mother of his children. And as one commentator suggests or talks about, Charles said he just remembers that young woman that he married and suddenly this very tragic end to her life. So I think they probably had matured, they'd let go of their ugliness, and I think that the future was looking promising.
It's still just as tragic 23 years later. It's just still.
It really is. Yeah.
It really is. It's just, Victoria, thank you so much. It is always such a pleasure getting all of your insight. It's always so wonderful.
Oh, thank you. I always enjoy chatting to you, so thank you for having me.
We'll watch The Windsors Inside the Royal Dynasty. It airs Sunday, September 7th at 9 p.m. All right, and before we wrap up, we have to check in on our royal kiddos and our pint-sized palace, and it turns out that Harry wants Archie to be a rugby star. Take a look.
Probably what I need is a few like mini rugby balls that I can then get Archie involved with the game, because at the moment it's impossible to find any. But I've got a little bit of space outside, which we're fortunate enough to have. So I need to get him playing some rugby league. But I am just unbelievably fortunate and grateful to have outdoor space and see my son be able to be outside, because I know that so many people just haven't had that opportunity in the last 5 months.
So we know that Harry obviously has loved rugby for a very long time. So this is really no surprise.
Yes, he loves rugby. We've seen so many photos of him in Afghanistan playing rugby in his army fatigues. That was one of my favorite photos of him.
Mm-hmm.
And his cousin-in-law, Mike Tyndall, who's married to Zara, he was a professional rugby player. So, you know, the Royals, even though rugby's a rough and tumble sport, they are no stranger to the rugby pitch.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, you know, Archie and Harry can make rugby popular in America because it's not a huge sport around here, but maybe, you know, maybe they'll start a new wave.
Yeah, they could be the ones to change the tide on that.
Totally. It wasn't, you know, nice in that interview as well. You know, he said that Archie is obviously their number one priority. That always comes first to their work. And it seems like they're really settling into and enjoying life in California. He was talking about obviously how much he loves, you know, having all this outdoor space where Archie can run around. So it seems like they're really loving it.
Right. And he did sort of give a shout out to people who don't have outdoor space and how much harder that is in the pandemic. And that really made me feel seen as an apartment dweller.
Totally. It has not been easy for a lot of people. So at least they recognize that. Well, Molly, thank you so much for breaking down all things Royals with me.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Totally. Well, make sure to check out Royally Us every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. on Us Weekly's YouTube page. Keep commenting, keep subscribing, and we will see you guys next week.